Hey Dave, welcome to the GAC RMHC Golf Classic. Just want to give you an opportunity here to view your swing at regular speed. We'll let that play on through. We'll put you back in your dress position, and we'll go ahead and take a look at a few things for you. So while we got you here in your setup, let's first of all take a look at your posture. So your spine is nice and straight and on a slight tilt. Your legs come down into a slightly unlocked position, and you sort of hold your arms out in front of you a little bit, and then the golf club works out to the ball. If I were going to work on your golf game, I would revise this position just a little bit. I would basically just try and get your spine tilted just a little bit more, sort of get your tail out and up just a hair, and get your sternum just out and up a little bit in this direction. And what that's ultimately going to do is just going to increase the angle to your spine just a hair. I'd also like to soften your knees just a little bit, get them into a little bit more of an unlocked state, and then from there, definitely getting your arms to hang down a little bit more naturally so you're not holding them out away from your body, and then let that golf club work out to the golf ball. So just improving the angles in your spine, soften the knees a hair more, and just really get those arms a little bit more natural where the hands can hang a little closer to your thighs. And ultimately what that's going to do, it's going to improve the angle relationship between your forearms, your wrists, and the golf club, where you're sort of just pronating your hands and arms up and out away from you just a little bit there. Okay. Other aspect from this vantage point that we want to take a look at has to do with your alignment. We can see that your feet are set up in a closed stance. So if we draw a line along your feet here and we carry that out towards the intended target, theoretically, we need to understand that the club face is supposed to run parallel to our feet, and parallel lines on camera would have an appearance of converging. So in that scenario, regardless, we can see that you're set up definitely too far to the right. So there's going to have to be some form of a compensation in your golf swing to get this ball back to the center of the fairway. And the move that you're going to create is likely an over-the-top move that will swing the golf club from out to in, and that will hopefully allow you to pull the ball back to the target, which we'll see here in just a few seconds. Let's go ahead and do a little split screen comparison here between you and Jordan Spieth. We've got some color-coded lines here up on the screen to use as visual reference as it pertains to swing plane. But before we do that, let's just pay attention to a few of the things that I made commentary on, and that is, notice Jordan's knees, how they're a little bit softer than yours. Look at the angle of his spine, just angled a little bit more forward, and then his hands and arms are just hanging a little bit more naturally. So that's sort of what I was getting at when we were making reference to your setup. As we go ahead and take a look at the dynamic move here with Jordan Spieth, he draws the golf club back by creating good shoulder rotation, bringing the arms and hands back as well as the club. And we want to see the club moving back directly along the red line. That means the club is coming back on proper swing plane. Through this area of the golf swing, we want to start to incorporate some good wrist hinge into play, where we're going to transition the club head from below to above our hands. And at this point, we want to work the club from red up towards the blue-yellow V zone. When we finally set the club at the top of the backswing, we want to have the left arm of the club situated either on the yellow line, anywhere between the blue-yellow V zone, or physically even up on blue, which we can see here with Jordan Spieth. At this point in time, he also has full shoulder rotation, and he does this about a very stable right leg. Let's go ahead and watch you initiate your takeaway here, which we see you draw your hands back and pull the club inside of the swing plane. So at this point in time, the hands and the club are obviously moving underneath and inside of your plane, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that you're set up in this closed stance. As we continue to carry this golf club back, we see the club going further inside, club shaft getting laid off and underneath. Now, one of the things I want to actually point out at this time, I want to come back to your posture. Let's go ahead and draw a line along your spine now, which is now at 56 degrees. Your leg, your right leg, is now more soft and coming down. Okay? Let's go back to address. Remember, I had originally stated to you that I wanted to improve your posture. Well, again, if we go back to your address position, your spine's starting in a position at approximately 64 degrees, and the legs were not as unlocked. So ironically, what you're actually doing is you're moving yourself into the position I want you to be in at the start. So if you'd gotten yourself into yellow to begin with, you wouldn't have to move down into that position during your backswing, and you'll reduce up and down fluctuation with respect to your motion here. Okay, so very important to set that posture to begin with, so we don't have to dive down into the position as we can see here during your actual physical swing. As we continue to carry this back to the top, what we can see here is you now start working that club from a very shallow and laid off position, and you actually now start getting it very steep and working back into a decent position. And let's see where you set it at the top. So when you're finally at the top, the backswing looks pretty solid. Great rotation in your shoulders, stable right side. Again, notice your posture. Your posture is perfect right now. So again, set that position to begin with. Learn how to build your golf swing off that posture right from the get-go. Okay? Top of the backswing again, shoulders are turned well, stable right side. Posture is much better at this point in time. I love the geometry of your arms, the triangular position in your arms relative to your core. Looks great. And your club's in pretty decent position relative to your arms. It does get a little bit steep, and we don't really let the golf swing full completely due to the fact that I don't think we're maximizing our wrist hinge. Okay, but you're in a pretty solid position at the top of your backswing. From here, as we create our transition back into the ball, simply want to move our weight from our right foot to our left, fire the knees and the hips to the target, unwind the core, and fire the hands. At this point in time, we want to make sure we're bringing the golf club from that blue-yellow V zone back down onto red, which is where the club originated. And that's exactly what we see here with Jordan Spieth. The golf club is returning right back to being on plane. The other thing we want to observe at this stage of the golf swing is the relationship between the lead forearm and the golf club. I refer to this as the backwards check mark. It simply means the club head right now is remaining above and behind our hands coming into the hitting zone, and this is what's going to allow us to create a lot of power in our golf shot. Aside from the fact that he's going to also be able to hit the ball straight due to the fact that, again, the club has returned back to plane. Let's go ahead and watch your transition back into the ball here. Unfortunately, you got an over-the-top move. You push your hands out away from you, down yellow and towards blue. And again, as I stated at the beginning, due to the fact that you're aimed out to the right, you have to make a compensation. This is your compensation. You send it over the top. This is going to allow you to attack the ball from what we refer to as outside to inside. So as we continue to watch the hands come over the top, let me see if I can go to the next frame. I wish I had your club head in that frame, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to mark where the club head pretty much is, which is here. And let's watch it now fall down out in front of you. And that club just keeps moving further and further out in front. So if we connect the dots, we can clearly see the steepness of that downswing plane due to the fact of the over-the-top move. Again, this is going to influence the path, whereby you're going to swing the club path from out to in, and this is hopefully going to allow you to pull the golf ball back online. In Jordan's case, again, we already noted the club returned back to plane here, and as it tracks into the golf ball, it simply moves into the golf ball directly from on plane. And again, this is ultimately what allows us to hit a straight golf shot in accordance to our alignment, lastly, assuming that the club face squares up via having a good grip. So if we want to be consistent and we want to hit straight golf shots, three things we need. We have to aim well. Feet have to run parallel left of our target. The club has to return down onto plane if we want to be able to hit the ball straight based off of that alignment. And then lastly, club face has to square up via having a good grip. So at this point in time, we can go ahead and take a look at the pass of the club. We can see with Jordan, just before he strikes, the club's inside the ball. It expands out to make contact, moves through in a nice natural subtle arc. Again, your club is stuck outside the ball, dropping down and across to make contact. It keeps moving to the inside to try and pull the ball back on line, as mentioned, as the compensation. And very simply put, if you square the club face up to that path, you will be able to pull the golf shot back in this formation towards your intended target. Okay, so if the timing's on, you will hit what I refer to as a pull straight shot or a subtle pull fade or a subtle pull draw. Neither one of those are going to hurt you. The issues lie when you do over-release the club relative to this red path. Not only will you pull the ball, but what's going to happen is you're going to hit some form of a pull draw or pull hook. If we leave the club face too open to that path, then what ends up happening is we have the ability to sort of block the ball out to the right. Obviously the club face in that scenario is remaining wide open, and we're going to put too much left to right spin on the ball, and we're going to hit some form of a pull fade, pull slice, or potentially even a block fade to a block slice. Okay, so the end result of your golf shot solely comes down to the timing of the club face. Because that golf club is swinging from outside, striking the ball, moving to the inside. If we over-release the club, it follows red. Under-release the club, it follows blue. And if we time it properly, it will follow yellow and will stay on line or follow green on line towards your yellow target there. Okay? As we come through, we notice with Jordan, his right heel's off the ground. Watch the continued activity in that right foot through to the finish. That right heel fully comes up off the ground onto the toe. That allows his weight to get to his left side, the hips to square around, and obviously his shoulders to fully rotate with the hands high and the club back in behind him. Let's watch your motion through the rest of the impact. We can see your right foot not fully off the ground at this point in time with your heel. You now create good footwork, which is great, allowing you to carry yourself through to a good finish. So that looks superb right there. Overall, you got some really nice athletic characteristics in your golf swing. I love how your hands work. Your hands come back, they fire through. Your core works well. You coil back, you uncoil through. You got pretty decent footwork, allowing you to get through to a pretty good finish. But again, if we want to be consistent and we want to hit straight golf shots, three things we need. We have to aim well, we have to have a good downswing plane, and then we have to have a good club face position. Unfortunately with you, we see that your alignment's too far to the right, and in that point in time, your compensation is to come over the top, try and pull the ball back to the left, and at that point, now we've got to manipulate the club face to hit sort of this fade and allow that ball to get back online. And again, if the club over-releases in this scenario, that ball is definitely going way too far left. Under-release the club relative to this scenario, it's going to go too far right. And if we time it properly, we'll hit what I refer to again is a pull straight shot or a subtle pull fade or a subtle pull draw. And again, when that alignment and that downswing plane are off, this is what wreaks havoc on your left to right tendencies and your consistency. So if your timing's on, you're going to hit a fine shot. If the timing's off, then obviously we will lose the ball left or right, depending on how close or open that club face was through impact. Okay? Anyways, any point in time you ever want to work on any of these aspects of your golf game, I'm based out at Glen Abbey in Oakville. Be happy to structure a program for you. Also, if you're involved with any golf tournaments at all, you guys are looking for a unique gift to provide your guests, touch base, I'd be happy to discuss my swing analysis services with you or any of the conveners that sit on the committee for the tournaments. Okay? Anyways, hope you enjoyed getting an opportunity to see your swing on video, and I hope you had a great day. Take care.